What's up, everybody? My name's Big Cam and welcome back to another Comically Boston Monday morning podcast where every Monday we discuss the last week in nerddom. So we're back for another weekly nerdy news and it's a pretty packed week. We got the Actors Award winners and we're going to talk about those at the end of today's show for anybody that's interested in that. But there's some God of War topics because they released the first look at God of War, but it's potentially a fake. We'll talk about that, and we'll talk about more about the God of War series coming to Amazon Prime Video. And a couple weeks ago I started talking about God of War, and I didn't realize we were going to be getting so much news week after week for God of War, but it looks like God of War just wants to stay in my brain, so I'm not mad at it. I've been replaying the first game, I've been getting excited about the show, and this first image was very controversial over the last week, so we're going to talk about it. But there's also some video game news at the start of the show, a little bit of AMC Theaters, Sony news, Dune Part 3, and Avengers Doomsday news. But in the middle of the show, we will discuss the Paramount acquisition of Warner Brothers and how they're like overpowering and outbidding Netflix, and Netflix didn't re-offer a bid. So we'll discuss everything we know about that. But just to jump on into it, y'all, the first topic I want to discuss today is a PlayStation 5 video game and a Marvel video game that's gotten me very excited from the looks and footage we've seen of it so far. I'm still waiting for like a gameplay trailer or another trailer for this game to come out, but currently they announced, Insomniac Games that is, that the Wolverine video game will be coming September 15th of 2026, so heading into like the winter tail end of this year, September. I can't wait to play this game. You know, Wolverine's one of my favorite characters, and to be able to rip people apart as Wolverine is going to be awesome. I just hope it's like a rated R game. It's bloody, it's gory, it has everything that you want out of a Wolverine character. And also something that I didn't necessarily see in the first couple of trailers. How are they going to deal with like his regeneration? Because obviously in video games, like you fall off the edge of the map, you die, you know, certain things you do, you fail, you die, but when your character regenerates, how are you going to deal with that? I mean, back in the day, they had it so it was like his skeleton, and then you'd see his flesh regrow. Is that what we're going to see in this game? I mean, I would like to see something along the lines of that. I wouldn't just like to run around as a character just like an invincible cannonball, you know what I mean? But I don't know, Wolverine, very excited to see more of that. And, you know, there's the collector's edition that they announced as well. And, you know, some books and some claws and a steel book for the game and a statue that's going to come out along with it. And it looks like maybe a cover for like the PlayStation. I don't know, looks cool. And then also a custom Wolverine controller. All I know is that I cannot wait for the Wolverine video game. That's going to be in my hands and played as fast as possible. But moving on from some video games into some movies, and AMC Theaters just announced last week that they will start reserving the best seats for the A-list and Premier members later this year. So for me, I'm a Premier member at AMC, so, you know, it does help get you discounts and stuff like that, get you reward points back. A-list is like for the people that go to the movies multiple times every single week. I haven't been to the movies every week to be able to justify buying the A-list, but I mean, I'm getting close. You know, especially like certain months this year, you know, like June or July, like this summer with Oppenheimer with the Odyssey, Christopher Nolan, with Spider-Man Brand New Day, with Supergirl, you know, like there's, and I'm sure there's other ones too, you know, like Disclosure Day, Steven Spielberg's UFO movie. Like, there's so many movies coming out this year that I'm desperately dying to see. But, you know, do they come out all at the same time, all in the same week? And do they come out every week of the year? You know, I don't know if I could justify the A-list. But comment below, are you an A-list or a Premier member at AMC? Or what theater do you go to? Locally around here, I kind of have to go to AMC. If I had, like, an IMAX that was better and closer to me, I would go to that, obviously. But, you know, we don't have like a Regal or like a Cinemark or any of those around me, so I don't necessarily go to those other than AMC, and like the only other one around us is like Showcase, but we always called that Show-Ass Cinemas because whenever we drove by, the sign that lit up saying Showcase always had a couple letters out. But Yeah, comment below, what theaters do you go to, and are you excited that AMC is reserving the best seats for Premier members? Or is this just going to make everyone become a Premier member and then the best seats aren't going to be available anyways? I feel like best seats is a weird term either way, because like everyone has their own place they like to sit. Like most people like to sit in like the middle sections of seats. Me personally, I like to sit in the back corners. You know, either back corner, I'm comfortable. You know, like, but that's just me. Switching over into some Sony news and talking about the Sony Spider-Man universe. Recently, I believe it was Matt Bellany was talking to Tom Rothman, I believe is the Sony Pictures CEO, and it was confirmed that they will be doing a fresh reboot of the Spider-Man Spinoff Universe after their most recent flops with Madame Web and Kraven. And that's probably, you know, a good call. Not necessarily Kraven, you know, because like out of all of the movies that they put out under that Sony Spumsy spin-off universe, I mean, the Venom character worked because of Tom Hardy and what it was, but like the first Venom movie worked. It wasn't, you know, unbelievable, but it worked. The second Venom Let There Be Carnage, it wasn't that great. They didn't utilize Woody Harrelson as much as they should have. And then the third movie, you know, The Last Dance, I didn't necessarily love, you know, like, oh, they ended it, Tom Hardy's done, you know, like, I don't know. It just felt like Sony flopped the bag so hard with these characters. And then Madame Web, let's not even talk about that disgrace. Morbius, you know what I mean? Like some of these other ones, absolutely atrocious stuff from Morbius, Madame Web. But Kraven, like Kraven was bad, don't get me wrong. It was still Sony and it was bad. But like Aaron Taylor Johnson as Kraven, Russell Crowe as his father, like there was still some good parts in that movie, but then the editing of it and the Sony-fied version of it, like, ugh, yeah. I mean, Sony really should sell back these characters, and I know they're money bags for them and they won't, but I hope they somehow the rights revert back to Marvel, because Sony fumbles the bag and fucks it up that bad, because they are so disgraceful when it comes to their movie making stuff. And then they'll like take credit for Across the Spider-Verse when really that's Lord and Miller's baby, and that has nothing to do with Sony. And the only reason those animated movies are even at Sony is because they own the rights to Spider-Man, right? Like they wouldn't be there if they didn't have to be. Like Sony is, just give me a headache every time I think of Sony and their stupid flopped universe. But moving on, don't have to think about it anymore. Fuck Madame Web. Fuck Dakota Johnson. But in some other news, Dune Part 3 has confirmed to be having an exclusive IMAX window on its opening weekend. And this would mean that Avengers Doomsday open with some IMAX screenings in select international markets. So, you know, is Marvel and Disney like, yeah, Avengers Doomsday is going to be so big that, like, we're going to blow Dune out of the water either way. But Dune fans can have the IMAX screenings the first weekend, and maybe Avengers Doomsday is banking on, you know, maybe it's the first weekend, maybe it's the first 2 weekends or something, and then, you know, Dune Part 3 will be out of IMAX but still be playing, or maybe playing on some screens instead of, like, exclusively only IMAX. But then Avengers Doomsday will go from regular screens into IMAX screens after 2 weeks, and maybe Marvel's like, hey, I think we can do that. I think Avengers Doomsday will play for 2 weeks, and then people will be rewatching it and then be like, you know what, I want to go check it out in IMAX. But I don't know. I also haven't heard that, like, Avengers Doomsday is filmed in IMAX particularly, and it needs to do this certain stuff in IMAX. Like, I don't think the Russo brothers are those type of guys. I think they're focusing more on, like, the characters, the story, and, like, the RDJ and the Steve Rogers of it all, rather than the IMAX budget and the camera shots. I don't know. I don't think necessarily Avengers Doomsday is going to have like Sinners type of, you know, scaling shots that are made to look perfect on IMAX, or even like Dune Part 2 shots on IMAX. Like, Dune needs to be seen in IMAX. It just does. You know, Dune Part 2 is so unbelievable on IMAX, and then even on the regular screen it's unbelievable, but just how much you get to see on that IMAX screen is unbelievable. My only gripe with that is the only IMAX screen around me isn't necessarily close, and then when you get there and you're watching almost a 3-hour movie like Dune Part 2, the seat is like just one of those plush auditorium chairs. It's not like one of those you know, lay down reclining chairs. And I'm like, what the fuck? People don't want to be comfortable when they spend all this extra money on IMAX tickets. So like, that's the ripoff around here, is that you spend all that extra money on an IMAX ticket and then you get a worse seat. So it's like, why would I spend more money and then be uncomfortable for 2.5 hours? Like, at this point for us, I would rather just see it on a normal AMC theater, where at least for 2.5 hours I can be comfortable in the chair that I'm in, instead of like having back problems and my ass falls asleep in the middle. You know, like, what the fuck? Like, fix your shit, IMAX. Go on. Build more IMAX theaters. Make them comfortable. I don't care if the ticket was $50. I would spend it to go be comfortable in an IMAX screening, you know? Like, instead, I'm not going to spend $25 to go be uncomfortable. Like, come on now. But comment below your thoughts on that. Do you think that the Dune Part 3 having an exclusive window for IMAX could mean that Avengers Doomsday moves dates? Like, I thought for sure Dune Part 3 was going to end up moving its dates because they didn't want to compete with Avengers Doomsday. And now, you know, like, Marvel is Marvel, and this is Avengers fucking Doomsday we're talking about. This is practically the sequel to Avengers Endgame. You know, it's not even necessarily tying into the other shit that we just saw over the last Phase 4. You know, so Avengers Doomsday is really like a follow-up for the Russo brothers to Avengers Endgame. And those are some billion-dollar movies for sure. Like, Marvel, you know, is banking on this Avengers Doomsday to make $1 billion. Now, the Dune movies haven't touched $1 billion for either of the first two, but the word of mouth on the Dune movies has grown and grown and grown since the first movie come out. And now people have seen the second movie on HBO Max or whatnot. So I'm thinking Dune Part 3 could come close, but if it's competing with Avengers Doomsday, I'm not sure what's going to happen. And I'm pretty sure it's not going to be like a Barbie and Oppenheimer situation, because it's probably going to be two movies that are both close to 3 hours long, and I just don't know if people are going to be doing Doomsday, you know? Like, I might, but I don't know. Comment below your thoughts on that, though. Well, alright, let's get into the Paramount and the Warner Brothers acquisition. And just the other day, David Zaslav had to say about the new Warner Brothers Paramount acquisition, and he says it will create tremendous value for shareholders. Well, he said the same thing about Netflix buying it. And he says, we are excited about the potential of a combined Paramount, Skydance, and Warner Brothers Discovery, and can't wait to get started working together, telling stories that move the world. Fuck you, David Zaslav. God, just some of his quotes, I'm like, is this guy a robot? And then apparently, leaked audio from the company-wide meeting has revealed that David Zaslav thinks it will take at least 6 to 12 months for the Warner Brothers Paramount deal to close. And he says the deal may not close. If it doesn't close, we get $7 billion and we get back to work. So apparently in this deal to outbid and overpower Netflix, you know, Paramount offered all this extra money, and apparently they offered them a substantial amount of money, and even if the deal doesn't close, they would still have to owe Warner Brothers $7 billion. So in Warner Brothers' side of things, you know, this is probably the better deal, just because it's like, well, it's more money, so I kind of have to take the more money. Plus, it's money that's, you know, getting given to us right away. Like, I think there was a signing bonus too that we'll talk about in a second. But, you know, $7 billion in 6 months to a year if it doesn't end up working out, and they get to keep their stuff and $7 billion plus the signing bonus. You know what I mean? So like, this is a pretty good deal for them. And I think for Warner Brothers, I think they're going, I hope this doesn't work out, so we get to keep our company, and then we're $7 billion richer as a company, and we can spend that on VFX or paying our people or, you know, making another movie. I don't know, but I don't know. This doesn't sound like a deal that really is going to go through. At this point, I feel like it's too much of a hostile takeover, and I feel like courts are going to block this, but who knows. But even just looking at David Zaslav, he does look like a robot, doesn't he? God, he just makes me feel uncomfortable. But Paramount has already paid Netflix $2.8 billion to terminate their agreement with Warner Brothers. Oh, so I originally read this that they paid Warner Brothers that 2 point something. So Netflix just made almost $3 billion to just go, yeah, you know what, you can have it. What? So Netflix now is making money just to be like, all right, we won't outbid this. So I don't know, that feels dirty as fuck. Paramount just being like, oh, we're in a bidding war. How about we pay you to fuck off and then we'll just win the war? And it's like, okay. And Netflix is just like, we're good with that. Yeah, this just makes me feel dirty, does it not? Does it not make you feel dirty reading about just billions of dollars just buying assets and companies and, oh god, crazy work. But as far as the details we know, Paramount has revealed new details about their merger with Warner Brothers. HBO Max and Paramount Plus will be combined into one service. That's terrible for HBO Max, considering HBO Max, I think, right now is one of the better streamers, and it has one of the better catalogs of movies where you can go and watch, and they update it pretty regularly, so, like, stuff that's you want to see is coming out onto it. Yeah, where, like, Disney Plus is really just all the Marvel stuff, it really is. And then Netflix, it has, like, the rest. Hulu is now Disney Plus, so there's really not much there that you can't find on Disney Plus. And then what's the other one? Paramount? Paramount has nothing. There is nothing on Paramount that I have gone to see and watch on that. I mean, recently, just because I looked, I think the only thing that's come out recently that's on there is The Running Man, and that came out like a year ago at this point. Like, come on, guys. You clearly do not have all that much. I mean, they do have rights to, like, you know, Indiana Jones and, like, the Scary Movie. So there is some franchises on there, but as far as, like, the Paramount app, it sucks. It works terribly. Like, this is not a good deal for HBO Max in the long run, and if Paramount wants to incorporate themselves into the HBO Max app, that's fine, but don't do it the other way and be like, oh, we have the superior app to HBO Max. Like, Paramount, stop fucking around with shit that you don't understand. Like, goddamn. They also said that 15 films per studio with 45-day theatrical release windows for each film. And, you know, so 15 films for Paramount, 15 films for Warner Brothers will be, so 30 films a year are going to be put out by this studio. I mean, that sounds pretty good. Merged company will have approximately $79 billion in debt. So that doesn't sound like a good deal. $6 billion in cost cutting, including consolidating on tech infrastructure, real estate, corporate overheads, and more. So yeah, this sounds terrible for HBO, and like Paramount wants to cut $6 billion worth of jobs and consolidating tech infrastructure. Like, what? No plans to sell off / spin off any of their cable assets. Flexibility to put sports like UFC on any cable network. Oh yeah, that's another thing that Paramount just bought recently was friggin' UFC. So I wonder if that's where most of that $79 billion in debt is from, is that acquisition of UFC, and that's why they're putting on fights literally every Saturday trying to get money back for that purchase of UFC, I guess. And it says they will continue to license movies and TV shows to other studios and platforms. Okay. AI will be a tool for artists, but never a replacement for storytellers. God. Anything I read about this Paramount Warner Brothers acquisition, like anything I read about the Netflix Warner Brothers, it wasn't good, but I wasn't like feeling dirty on the inside. This makes me feel disgusting reading any of this stuff about Paramount hard arming Netflix out of there, paying Netflix almost $3 billion just to fuck off. Like, oh, I hope this gets blocked by every sense of the words. You know what I mean? Like, I hope the court blocks this and goes, yeah, no, this is too much of a monopoly. You guys can't do this. And then there's no reason why, like, Netflix and Hulu, or Disney and Hulu, whatever, Disney and Fox, whatever. But, like, Paramount and Warner Brothers, or even Netflix and Warner Brothers, like, I feel like those are companies that should remain separate. You know, let Warner Brothers do their thing. Let James Gunn try and make you into a profitable business again with his new universe. Like, let it happen. And after successes like friggin' Sinners this year, Warner Brothers is coming off a very good year. You know what I mean? Like, but moving on into that God of War news and some of the casting announcements that just came out the other day, was one of them being Baldur the Brave got his, well, I'm not sure if he's Baldur the Brave, but Baldur, son of Odin, I think. Either way, Ed Skrein, who many people know from Deadpool 1 as Ajax or Francis, he is playing Baldur in the new God of War series coming soon to Prime Video. And this is just funny to me that this is now the second time that Ed Skrein has played a character that doesn't feel pain, with one of them being that character from Deadpool 1 and now Baldur. But I do think he would look really good with the beard, with the little beads in it, and all the little Norse tattoos all over him. And, you know, and he's an asshole, Ed Skrein. He plays asshole really good. So yeah, I think this guy as Baldur is going to work quite well. So as far as cast we know so far for the God of War live action series, Ryan Hurst is Kratos, Callum Vinson is going to be playing Atreus, Ed Skrein is Baldur, Teresa Palmer is going to be playing Lady Sif, Max Parker is going to be playing Heimdall, Olafur Dari Olafsson, he's going to be playing Thor. I believe he just had a role in Severance, so interesting. Alistair Duncan, who voiced Mimir in the game, is back as Mimir, and I'm not sure how they're going to do that in live action, but going to be a head hanging off of Kratos' belt again. Mandy Patinkin is going to be playing Odin. That's a good casting there. Danny Woodburn is going to be playing Brock, and Jeff Gulick is going to be playing Sindri, the two dwarf brothers that help Atreus and Kratos on their journey and upgrade their equipment, you know? So that's a decent cast for that so far. But now to get into the controversial side of things from God of War over the last week. And this was even on like the God of War friggin' Twitter page. Father and son, behold your first look at Kratos and Atreus in the God of War series, now in production for Prime Video. Their journey to the highest peak begins, right? If you guys don't know, the whole 2018 video game is a journey of Kratos and his son, Atreus, and their former mom and wife just passed away, and they are bringing her ashes to spread at the highest peak in all the realms. So, and then this journey unfolds from there. But that's literally the whole first story, and then the second story is, you know, much more of like Thor and Odin and what's going on there. But yeah, season one of this should probably just be the first game, and you know, I hope they go on little side missions and stuff like you can do in the game. Like, I've been replaying it, in the 2018 game is so unbelievable. Like, and just to put it into perspective for video gamers out there, the God of War 2018 video game is a solo one-player campaign story game, and it beat Red Dead Redemption 2 as the best game from 2018. Now, that's no shade on Red Dead Redemption 2, because Red Dead's one of the best games ever created of all time. But that just goes to show how good God of War is and how much people really love this character in this game, in this new iteration of Kratos as a father. But the part that people are really talking about is the way that Kratos looks. Now, Ryan Hurst, I have plenty of faith in him to get really jacked, grow a mean beard. He is going to be a great actor, so this picture has no acting, right? So we're just judging this book by its cover type of shit with this picture here. Now, first things I noticed was the attire. The strap around the shoulder, the straps around the forearms, the painted white skin, the scar on the belly, the scar over his eye, the red painted tattoo, the leather straps around his belt with the dangling red straps, the, you know, leatherish, dirtyish materials like they're foraging in the forest to make their clothes. Little Atreus has his bow, has his, you know, attire. But the actual look of the characters is what people are very upset about. Kratos, they're thinking, isn't big enough. He's not jacked enough. His beard isn't good enough. Everyone's like, that fake ass beard. I saw so many comments about the beard. Me personally, I think the eyes really should be green, because the character in the game has these eyes that are absolutely gorgeous eyes that you're just like, every time there's a close-up you just see such a humanity behind those eyes. But when you see the rest of him fighting throughout the game, you see the God of War. But whenever there's a cutscene or there's an emotional moment when he's talking to his son, you see the man, you see the father. So like, there's that you gotta get both sides of it. You gotta have the emotional sides and like the close-ups and the cinematography to it, because the game looks so good that like the show needs to look, if not as good, it needs to look better. You know, you're doing it in live action, you gotta put as much care and effort into the show as people do for the game, you know what I mean? And, you know, I'm still thinking about how are they going to adapt, you know, the World Serpent and Jormungandr, and like, how are they going to do this in live action? Like, the budget for the show, if they're going to do it right, it's going to be pretty damn high. But like, the difference between live action and video game, people are so mad at, and like, I don't disagree necessarily. Like, the detailing on the shoulder strap in the game, and like the detailing on his chest, how ripped he is, his beard is like super thick and chiseled, and like, I don't know, like the white skin, like everything just looks better. And granted, it's a video game, it's, you know, it's all fabricated by a computer, it's not real life, but I think Ryan Hurst here needs to get more ripped. But like, all this information was coming out, and I was thinking to myself, I was like, this feels pretty soon to be getting them already in costume and already filming. Like, they were just announcing castings last week, and where they just announced Ed Skrein this week. So if they're just casting, how fast are they putting this into production? When do they want this to come out? Like, I did not think that they were already going to be filming. And I say that to say, because is this a fake AI photo of the first look? But it also was released by God of War's Twitter page, but then Ryan Hurst released a statement saying, "Don't believe everything you see on the internet, kids." Now, why would Ryan Hurst do that if this is the first look? Unless they're trying to like backtrack it and be like, oh shit, people aren't liking the first look, we're gonna have to start from square one again. I don't know, but if this is AI, that would make me happy, because maybe this, you know, they have a chance to do like Sonic, and they put out the first look at Sonic and they were like, oh shit, people don't like it, let's revamp this thing and do it better. I think at least they should give Ryan Hurst 6 to 8 months to get as physically ripped as possible, and they should probably also give him some green contacts in his beard. His beard needs to be perfect, you know, like, his beard is one of the biggest attributes of this character. So maybe this image was faked, and if it is, Ryan Hurst, there's certain images I need you to look at for the type of physique we want Kratos to look like, and this is definitely one of them, right? Because at some point, you know, he's got the armor on majority of the time, but at some point he takes the shoulder armor off, he takes the arm straps off. We want to see the chain burns on the forearms, we want to see the scar on his chest, we want to see the tattoo going over the shoulder, but look how stringy and ripped his muscles are. Like, all he's done is spent time in the woods chopping down trees, you know what I mean? Or hunting, or, you know, killing with this axe, you know what I mean? Like, this is a character that not only is fighting, he's a god, so he needs to have godly physique, he needs to have the ability to fight, you know what I mean? Like, Ryan Hurst, I fully believe in him as this character, but this first image, if it's true, I'm not really here for. And then, you know, not to shit on a child actor, but, you know, people kept throwing out this image and be like, he doesn't look anything like Atreus. Well, this image is from the second game, where he's much older, and this kid looks very, very young in this photo here. So if this is supposed to be game one Atreus, which he doesn't necessarily not look like him, like his attire does. I don't necessarily see Atreus in the face, but we shouldn't judge the child by the book on the cover here, because he wasn't cast himself, you know, like they cast him as Atreus, and we haven't seen him speak yet. So for me, it's really going to come down to his attitude, and that's going to justify if he comes across as Atreus or not. Because as far as the attire, that looks great so far. And, you know, the look heading into the second game, he will grow, they can style the hair, they can make him look more like Atreus in the second game, or who knows, that between seasons, when they age him up, they might recast him. You know, maybe get the kid from the video game to actually play Atreus in live action, I don't know. But, I don't know, I think, don't judge the kid yet. But as far as Kratos, and this is like a now touched up version of Kratos, where like this is more likely, like even if he's not super ripped, granted it could be the angle that he's at, he's leaning hunched forward, you know, maybe it's just not showing off the muscles as much as they should be, but the beard with this just like touched up and making it look sharper. This image to me already looks better with the better beard. But if he had the green eyes instead of the black eyes, then the character would really start coming to life for me, you know, and I would watch this show with this beard and green eyes, I would watch it. But I still want to see Ryan Hurst as jacked as possible. And then as they're heading into like season 2, you know, and they get even more drip with the cloaks and, you know, Atreus gets a better look, everything's frozen, stuff happens with Thor, you know, like season 2 of this could be incredible, but they need to nail season 1 for people to be able to want to play season 2, you know? But then, you know, Cory Barlog has also been in the talks and people have been speculating what his next game will be, and it will be announced later this summer apparently, but it's going to be in the God of War franchise, and I'm thinking it's not going to be a God of War trilogy, and it's not going to be a third game in the Norse universe, although it could be. But my thoughts are it's probably going to be a God of War game set in Egypt, but rumor has it might be a Loki game or Atreus's game, and he might be the main character. Or we might get a Faye game. And, you know, this is Deborah Ann Wool's character of Faye, who isn't necessarily a huge character, but, like, you know, like I said, the first game, you're spreading their mom's ashes, and that's, like, what you're doing the entire game. And this is the mom whose ashes get spread. So this would be like a prequel kind of thing. Maybe show us how Faye met God of War, you know, and how they ended up together and having Atreus. You know, I wouldn't mind seeing that side of things as well. And Deborah Ann Wool is unbelievable, so if they want to make her Faye and do a whole thing around her, I'm here for it. I don't know about y'all. But moving on from God of War, I'd love to hear your thoughts about all that, but just to close out the show here, recently, last Friday, I believe, there was a new Apple TV Plus show called, well, not new, it's back for its second season, Monarch Legacy of the Monsters, and that's like a Godzilla and King Kong show, spinning off a TV show from like that King Kong Godzilla monsterverse. But Wyatt Russell's in there as a young Kurt Russell, and Kurt Russell plays the older version, so like both Russell boys are in there doing their thing. Some of the shots I'm seeing, though, of, like, King Kong and, like, some of the CGI budget for this season seems like it's insane. They're in the woods, Anya Sawai. I mean, I'm absolutely here for it. You know, I'm seeing, like, some tentacled monster bursting out of some rock, and then there's, like, this one little clip shot of them flying over King Kong as he's, like, in the water beating on his chest, and then he turns and looks at them and screams, and they're like, oh shit. You know, like, goddamn. So I don't remember. It's been like 2 years since Monarch Legacy of the Monsters Season 1. So instead of doing like a rushed breakdown and just breaking down Episode 1 of Season 2, I think I'm going to do a rewatch of Monarch Legacy of the Monsters. I'll put out a video coming soon about the recap for Season 1, and then we'll start Season 2 breakdowns probably heading into Episode 2 coming out this Friday. But just to end out today's show here, there was the Actor Awards last night hosted by Kristen Bell streaming on Netflix, which I like better because they were able to swear and there was less commercials and stuff like that, and you know, less long of a show. It was like from 8 to 10:30, and they only did 13 awards and 2 other little segments, so they could have done maybe 15 awards, but 13, short, sweet, kept it done, you know, wrapped it up, got the hell out of there. I appreciated it, really. You know, still had time to watch a movie last night, even though it wasn't a new movie. I watched Infinity War last night, just for those who are wondering. But the Actors Awards had a couple of baddies that I saw and just was like, oh my goodness, I haven't done a baddie of the week in a long time. So the baddies of the week for the SAG-AFTRA Actor Awards, Jenna Ortega looked unbelievable, and she presented and looked so gorgeous. And then Tiana Taylor, always looking so gorgeous, always has the most insane outfits on, and she wears them the utmost. But then before the show, there was 2 stunt awards that got announced that weren't televised, I believe. And one of them was for Tom Cruise's Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning for outstanding action performance by a stunt ensemble in a motion picture. And then the stunt award for outstanding action performance by a stunt ensemble in a TV series went to The Last of Us, for The Last of Us Part season 2, I'm guessing. And this is probably for that chase sequence, you know, when all the zombies are chasing after Abby, and then also like that whole battle and the explosions and stuff. It's probably for that is what they won for the TV show side of stunt awards. But yeah, so then getting into the actual awards, the first one of the night was for Best Actress in a Drama Series, and that went to Kerry Russell for The Diplomat. Best Actor in a Comedy Series went to Seth Rogen for The Studio. Best Actress in a TV, movie, or limited series went to Michelle Williams for Dying for Sex, and I don't think she was expecting to win, but she went up and gave a sweet speech. And Best Actress in a Comedy Series went to the late Catherine O'Hara for The Studio, rest in peace. And Seth Rogen had to get up and give a little speech for her, and it was quite sweet. And he says, you know, show people Catherine O'Hara's work and tell people as they are laughing that's Catherine O'Hara, and we were lucky that we got to live in a world where she so generously shared her talents with us. Accepting her award on behalf of Catherine O'Hara. Like, so it's so sad to lose, you know, great actors and people that you love in general, but when they're great actors and they're still working, like she just made The Studio last year, she's winning an award for it, and she passed, like, Catherine O'Hara, you legend, I love you. Best Actor in a Drama Series went to Noah Wyle for The Pit. I don't understand why The Pit is such a great show and keeps winning awards, but alright. The Best Ensemble for a Comedy Series went to The Studio, of course, and that ensemble in The Studio is insane. And Best Actor in a TV, movie, or limited series went to Owen Cooper for Adolescence, and that show I still need to check out. I've heard incredible things about. Best Ensemble in a Drama Series went to The Pit, of course. Best Actor in a Supporting Role in a Motion Picture went to Sean Penn for One Battle After Another. And then they gave a Lifetime Achievement Award presented by Woody Harrelson to Harrison Ford, and Harrison Ford got up there and gave an emotional speech and had the crowd in tears, and his like old man voice was breaking and emotional as he was accepting this. He's like, I'm still a working actor, so it feels a little weird accepting a Lifetime Achievement Award, but alright, I guess I'll keep living. But then Best Actress in a Supporting Role in a Motion Picture went to Amy Madigan for Weapons, and this was a surprising one. Everyone was like, oh, and she was shocked, and her speech was probably the speech of the night for me. It was quite funny, and she kind of rambled towards the end and made everybody laugh, but, you know, she wasn't expecting to win, and she was like, you know what I love about actors is that they love other actors, and everybody cheered, you know, and like, yeah, other actors voted for her to win over Tiana Taylor, over Chase Infinity, over Wumi Osaka for Sinners. You know, like a bunch of other people that were definitely deserving of Best Supporting Actress in a major motion picture, but Weapons won. So now this makes me want to go see Weapons more a little bit. Not really, but a little bit. Best Actress in a Leading Role in a Motion Picture went to Jessie Buckley for Hamnet, and this has been something that she's won every award all the way through. So I have almost 100% accuracy and faith that Jessie Buckley for Hamnet will win the Oscar for Best Leading Actress in a Motion Picture. But yeah, crazy. And then they did a In Memoriam, and it was very sweet. In Memoriam ended with Robert Redford, and then right afterwards they did like this little Light in Mine song from Sinners, performed by Miles Catton, and the camera move they did with the lighting just looked so unbelievable. And then right afterwards, Best Actor in a Leading Role in a Motion Picture went to Michael B. Jordan for Sinners. Shout out Michael B. Smoke and Stack. They 100% should have won for Best Actor in Sinners. He played 2 different roles spectacularly. He deserved it. And then Best Cast in a Motion Picture went to Sinners, and that was the last award of the night. So like the big ones for them were the best actors in the leading roles, in the best ensembles, and the best casts in a motion picture, you know what I mean? And you know, no directors awards, no best pictures, nothing like that. So for me, I was like, oh shit, right? And I guess those are the same for the Oscars. But also like, they only did 13 awards, so maybe they could have done Best Picture, Best Director if they wanted to, but instead they did Harrison Ford Lifetime Achievement Award, and then they did a performance by Miles Catton. So, you know, felt like to me they could have gone a half hour longer and gone from 10:30 to 11, and they could have gotten in, you know, best picture and whatever, best TV series. I don't know. But I guess best ensemble, they kind of gave the award for best show. I don't know. But best cast is really what they're giving it for. It's not necessarily saying it's the best show. It's saying, hey, this ensemble of people together were the best, you know. But I love the Actors Awards. I love award shows and seeing what they have to say and seeing who won and seeing what projects throughout the year that I watched are winning, you know. So shout out Sinners and Michael B. I hope Ryan Coogler wins Best Director, and I hope that wins Best Picture at the Oscars coming up. That might even be next week or the following week, but coming up soon, we will be covering the winners for the Oscars, so stay tuned for that. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on anything we talked about today. God of War, the Paramount Warner Brothers merger, AMC Theaters, the Sony CEO Universe, Dune Part 3 in Avengers Doomsday, maybe sharing dates, maybe moving dates, who knows. And then finally, the thing that we talked about first was the Wolverine video game. Anything that we talked about today, I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comment section below, or you can send them to me on my other social medias. Links for those down in the description below. Once again, my name's Big Camp. Thank you guys so much for sticking around and making it this far. Really means the world to me that you did. And if you've made it this far into the video and you'd like to support the channel, the best way of doing that is dropping a like on this video, commenting down in the comment section below, subscribing if you haven't already, and hit that bell so you don't miss future Comically Boston podcasts. And you'll get the notifications when the weekly nerdy news comes out. And that's it for me, y'all, and I will see you gorgeous folks in the next video. Peace!